What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Pat Cave. Today we're going to be taking a look at my Indiana Jones costume, and this was something that I put together probably, I want to say, about 9 or 10 years ago. And over time I've collected different, little accessories or coats or things, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you where I got them from. I'll show you my life-size mannequin from the movie that I kind of put together and I've had sort of off in my videos. Like I've mentioned many times before, I just got that life-size R2-D2, but this room is not very big at all, and I kind of need to downsize and make a little space. So these life-size mannequins that I have, I think I'm just going to break them out during Halloween to use for decorations until I have a larger option for all this stuff. Before I disassembled my costume, though, that I've got displayed on this mannequin, I figured I'd go ahead and give you a closer look at all the things that I have. I know a few people have asked questions in the past about where I got certain things or to get a better look at all of it, so I'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit. I put together about 10 years ago. I guess I'll just start with where I got all the costume pieces. I wore that costume that year for Halloween, and I've worn it a couple other Halloweens since, and Indiana Jones is my favorite action hero of all time. He's the GOAT. I think Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was always my favorite. That's the one that I watched the most, probably followed by Last Crusade. Raiders, I'm not sure why I didn't watch that one quite as often growing up. I think just merely for the fact that we didn't own it. I just remember having a VHS of Temple of Doom, and my grandparents had The Last Crusade, and I used to watch those movies non-stop. But anyway, if you're here to see my costume pieces, I'll go ahead and break those out. And I'm going to start with, I think, the hats first. And originally I only had one hat. This was the hat that I started with, and this was from a company, this is from a website, and a gentleman named Garrison Hatters, I believe is his name. I'll put a link to his website below too in case anyone likes the hat, wants to track one down. Really high quality, really cool looking. This particular hat is from Raiders, and it was styled after that movie. It has a front pinch that's pretty tight here. This hat is very floppy, like you could probably ball it up like this, and it's gonna be, hold its shape mostly, and it kind of just goes right back to how it was. And I think, I want to say, I forgot what movie, but his hat looks pretty soft in the movies. I'm not an expert, on Indiana Jones gear. I know a little bit about a lot, but, take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I'm not the authority on it, but I know what I like, and those are the things that I kind of aimed for. And this hat, I really like. I thought it was super high quality. I don't believe this was the most expensive option that Garrison Hatters had. I think there was another hat that was probably made of beaver or, something along the lines of the original ones, but it's very soft. It was very comfortable. This one, I can't, one thing, the only complaint I had to think about this hat is that nowhere in it did it say the size, and I don't remember what size I ordered. And when I went to get a new hat later on, I didn't want to make the same mistake and order this hat again, because I could have sworn when I measured my head, it was the same measurement I have that I used to order this hat. For whatever reason, there's no sizing on the inside though, and I've worn this numerous times over Halloweens, and I really like it. Super soft, the color's great. It has a good contrast between the band and then the, the hat fabric itself. This, like I said, is very soft. I want to say it's made of rabbit. Maybe some of you could tell me if that sounds right. It wasn't the most expensive option, but it still cost quite a bit. I want to say it was quite a bit when I bought it back then, but it was, fairly priced. And the gentleman that helped me out, he was a really nice guy, so I have nothing but good things to say about them. That is that hat there. And if you wanted to see it on me, and this is if you wanted to get a good look, I don't know how well it's shaped, but this one's a little bit tight on me, and it's not the most comfortable. I can wear it, if I wanted to wear it for a while, but I feel like after, an hour, my head kind of gets a little sore, and, it's a great quality though. I can't recommend them enough. And then this new hat that I got, this is the one I'm going to use for this Friday, or for this Halloween. This one is from Hero Hats, and this is the Hero Junior. And when I saw Hero Junior on the originally, I think I was a little confused. I was assuming that was a child size hat, but it's not the case. It's just a wool hat as opposed to I think the beaver hat that they offered, which is probably, and one thing that's really, really cool is that Hero Hats, the hats are basically the most affordable hats that are out there that are somewhat accurate, and they look pretty damn good to me. If they are inaccurate at all, it's not super obvious to me. I don't think it would be to anyone else unless you're like a hardcore Indiana Jones fan. This hat, I kind of like the color a little bit better. So if you see the two of them side by side, Hero hats and the Garrison hats, this one's a little bit lighter of a color and the band's a little darker, and it kind of reminds me of Temple of Doom a little bit more so. And this was shaped by somebody, I got this off eBay, and it was already kind of pre-shaped by them. It wasn't, necessarily my choice to do this front pinch like the Raiders hat, but I think this is more of a Temple of Doom style originally, but this hat fits a lot more comfortably than this other one. I think the brim is somewhat wider too, and I kind of just really like it. One thing that's a little different though is that this hat is a lot stiffer fabric than the other hat. And maybe that's just something to do with it being wool. I kind of did a little shaping on my own because when I got it, the brim was sort of folded upwards. And I kind of tried to get a nice shape to it. And the front here was just kind of already like that. And I just sort of left it. I liked it. I always liked how this one looked, and I think they're both really high quality options. Obviously, the Garrison hatter's hat is a lot softer. It is a lot more, well, I don't want to say a lot more expensive. It was more expensive. To give you an idea, this one here is about $125 new, I believe it was. But, the downside, and this isn't the owner's fault by any means, because I know he's trying to get people more affordable options. If you're shipping this to the US from, I think he's in the UK, by the time you add the tariffs on for shipping and all that stuff, this hat, which is normally about $125, comes out to about, I think it was like $225 or somewhere around there. And this guy put out some really high quality products. You can see this looks great. It feels great. It's a lot stiffer. And I gotta say, I kind of like that it's a little stiffer merely just for the fact that it holds its shape better. But this other one I never had any complaints about. It's been good to me. It looks great, soft, comfortable. Those are both two really good options. This one is about $125, like I said. It's great quality. This one a little more expensive. I wanted to say it was over $300, and that one is a lot softer. Probably is a little more accurate shape-wise. But they're both great options for people that are indie fans, and I think this one is something you could probably find on eBay. That's where I got this one. This hat was about $75, I think, that I paid for it, which is a steal considering they were $125, off the website. And that's probably, for anyone in the US, going to be the best option to get something that's affordable from this gentleman, but not have to pay the outrageous shipping costs, from coming out of the country, which is, like I said, not his fault. It's kind of unfortunate. I feel bad for the guy. This one here is a size 59. And like I said, it's really comfortable. And yeah, I think I like this one. I think it's going to be my new look for my Indy costume. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out the other parts of this costume. So I have 3 Indiana Jones jackets. All right, so this is my first jacket that I have. This is from Wested Leather, which is located in England. They made the original Indiana Jones jackets, and I believe for Raiders and Last Crusade, they were the providers of the coats for those movies. And this one here is a size 44, and this is my second Indiana Jones coat. And this one's got kind of like a dark color to it. It's got an oversized collar. This one in particular was based on their Last Crusade patterns. The larger collar with like the storm flap, and then it had like the the brass zipper. And I really like the color of this one. It's kind of a little bit darker. And it's, it gets hot, to tell you the truth. When the jacket's made in horse leather, it's a little bit thicker. It's not, you can't move. It's kind of more stiff. And I think that's part of the reason I didn't wear it as much. And I kind of, not that I regret it, but I think that it just wasn't as comfortable as I wanted it to be. Fits great though. And that's the second jacket that I ended up getting. Let's go ahead and take a look at the third. The first one that I have is the one that's on my mannequin, so I'll show you that one last. So this one here is from Coils, which is known as Todd's Costume. And this jacket is extremely soft lambskin. And I'm saying this is soft. Like it feels like a pair of pajamas. And I love that about it. It's just so comfortable. This coat here has, I don't know, well, you can see that, but it has a lot more pronounced grain to it too, which, as you know, in Raiders, that was kind of a thing. If you look at a lot of screenshots, you can see that there's a lot of grain showing, like especially around the front here. And I kind of like that. It gives it a little more personality, sets it apart from these other two coats I have, which is really smooth leather. And to tell you the truth, I think this is my favorite jacket that I own. It's also the, I think the least expensive. I think it was around, I'll pull the price up for you because I don't want to just give you some random number, but it was definitely cheaper than the Wested leather jackets, and it's the softest. And Wested might make, you know, I know they do lambskin, I just never ordered it from them. I think mainly because shipping things from the UK and you got to wait to get it made. And I sort of wanted, you know, this is a size large here, and I just wanted something that was already pre-made and just felt like it was off the rack. I didn't want, I don't always want, I can't stand having to take measurements. I know it's kind of lazy. You're right, it is. But I kind of like being able to just throw something on that's a large or medium or whatever, and it just fits, and it's kind of nice. So that's the route I went, and I love how this has the silver. I kind of prefer the silver, you know, the Raiders zipper and stuff, as opposed to the other, you know, the brass ones. And there's a good shot of the back. And this has also like the Raiders collar, kind of hangs down here. And then it's got, you know, the coils clothing, which I really like this. This is kind of like what's on his lighter in Last Crusade, but that is my favorite of the three jackets that I own. That's the one I'm going to use for Halloween this year. It's really lightweight, breathable. You can move easy. You don't feel like you can't turn or pull your arms across. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the items. They're all on my mannequin. Like I said, I'm going to pull them apart, take all that stuff down as soon as Halloween rolls around, so in about 2 days. And then from there, I'm going to use it for my costume and then probably throw it in the closet after until I need it again. Let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so this is my Indiana Jones life-size mannequin. And when I say life-size, this thing's taller than I am. I'm about 6'1". I think this is closer to 6'3" or 6'4". But here is the Garrison's hat. This is the one that I've had on it all these years, mainly just because I haven't had that other hat until just recently, but it actually fits, since it's smaller, it fits this mannequin head a little better. And this coat is the third and final coat. It was actually the first one that I ever bought. This one is also from Wested, but this is based on the Raiders pattern. And back when I bought it, this was kind of the standard, or this was kind of the best hero jacket. That's what it was called. It was the closest thing that they had to Raiders of the Lost Ark at the time. And that was, God, 10 years ago, I think. But I really like this jacket. This is actually really soft leather too, and this is goat. And that was why I got goat, because I was like, man, if he actually wore a jacket in real life, I would think goat would be his choice, merely for the fact that it's breathable, it's lightweight, you can move in it, and it's insanely strong. It doesn't tear easy or rip. And I think what happened was, over the years, this jacket that's another thing I should talk about. The sleeves in these coats, when you order them from Wested, you get to pick if you want silk sleeves or cotton sleeves. And I believe the original movie had cotton lined sleeves. And that's what I got for this. And what happened was, it just kind of gets uncomfortable because your skin doesn't slide in it. You know, your fabric or your sleeves will stick to the inside of the cotton. And that was kind of what happened with me. And it just sort of started to irk me after a while. So I ended up buying that other jacket and trying that instead, and liking it much better. This one, another problem with goat is that you can't really weather it that well easily. For anyone that's tried to weather an Indiana Jones jacket, you kind of probably know this already. It just doesn't, I think because of how strong it is, it just doesn't, you know, it's not something that looks really weathered without really going to town on it. And I didn't want to have to do that. One thing that I always thought was weird too is when I got this jacket from Wested, you would think this is from wear and tear, but it's really not. This stitching was coming apart here on the pocket when it arrived to me. And, you know, after spending that much money, you kind of were like, But like I said, you know, that company is based in England, and it just wasn't something that I could be like, well, I'm going to ship this back for this tiny stitch coming out. But that kind of felt like set the tone for those coats for me. And I know maybe I just had a bad batch, but the Hero Raiders jacket, this is one thing to note for people that don't know a lot about these coats, is that the pattern was cut so it hung off the shoulder more this way. And I remember them telling me that a long time ago. And it says that in a comparison too, as opposed to a regular jacket that would be cut, the seam for the arm would be up here, so it would go like that. So these were kind of off the shoulder a little bit more so. And I really liked, though, one thing about this is that when you wore it, you know, it really had that Raiders feel to it. This zipper was really like kind of wavy, especially when you zipped it up, you know, it would have that effect. And it had a good, you know, good size for the sleeves and then the back. And I would never really felt disappointed, I wouldn't say. I think I was more annoyed with myself for getting goat instead of lambskin. I just was afraid. I kept hearing how fragile it was, and I was thinking it was going to rip. I don't know what I thought I would be doing where it was going to be ruining my jacket that quickly. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other items. We've got this shirt. So this shirt, I was really happy with it. That's the first shirt I've ever bought, and it's the same one I've had all this time, and I wear it, you know, every year. Of course, I wash it, but it has like a good aged look to it, and I like the color of it. And then the pants also are this really heavy wool, which was, I believe, the same, you know, fabric they used for the movies. And one thing is that the shirt's great, you know, it's cool, but these pants, damn, they get hot, really hot, because they're straight wool, they're really heavy and accurate, but uncomfortable. And it feels like wearing a carpet on your legs. The pants and then the shirt are both from a website called I believe it's called What Price is Glory. And it's a really popular with Indiana Jones, you know, costume gear. And they make high quality stuff. Like I said, these pants are very durable, thick. You know, you could probably go through a jungle and they would survive just fine because that's how heavy duty they are. The shirt, you know, that felt comfortable. I felt like the fit was really good. And then some of the other costume pieces I've got. One thing I don't have is the boots. These boots that are on here, they're kind of just brown ankle-high boots that I had. I never bought the actual Indiana Jones boots. And last time I checked, which was a few weeks ago, I wanted to say they were around $700. And as much as I love this costume, I don't know if I'm quite ready to spend that kind of money on it. I know they make replicas with other companies, but I feel like if I did end up buying some stuff, I would just probably get the originals and just wait and save. And as for the remaining costume parts, the bag is a replica. Let me try and get back here. And you would never know, you know, it looks beautiful. It's really good color. You've got the little piece that holds the whip on there. The whip's actually in the other room, so I'll grab that before I wrap this video up. The belt is I believe that's the Raiders of the Lost Ark color in Temple of Doom. And I think in Last Crusade it changed to like a cream color. So I went the web belt, or I think it's called the web belt. So the adjustable belt, that's the original, I think, Raiders color. And then the gun belt, you know, is from Todd's Costumes. The gun holsters from Todd's Costumes. And then the gas bag is Todd's Costumes, along with this thing, the little whip holder piece snaps on. And then the strap was also Todd's Costumes. That came from the same place. So I would say the majority of this costume came from Todd's Costumes. And I think it's really good. You know, the shirt, the pants are What Price is Glory. But everything else is Todd's Costumes. The hats, you know, of course aren't. And then this is the gun holster. And that, I never had a replica of the gun just because I don't think I'd carry that around with me anyways. But this is the one from Raiders. That's the lighter, kind of light brown color. And I think I want to say that in Last Crusade it switches to like a color more similar to this kind of dark brown. But I sort of like this better just because it gives a better contrast. And, you know, it's not just all dark brown everything. You get different shades. And let me go grab the whip. That's the last part of it that I have that I'll show you. This is the whip that I have. This one, surprise, is also Todd's Costumes. And I think these run about $120 to $150. And I know they have a few different options too. So this is the lighter colored version. I'm not sure. I think it was the, you know, Raiders, touted as the Raiders whip. It's got a little tassel here. This, you know, to tell you the truth, this is a great option. It's inexpensive, but it kind of sort of came apart, and that's my fault. I was, you know, went to a Halloween party back when I first got this costume. This piece started to separate where the leather's at. You know, the little cracker came off of the end here. And the zip ties are just to hold it so when it's, you know, when I'm wearing it, it doesn't start unraveling, because as anyone knows that's worn this costume, if you're walking around, the whip will slowly kind of unfurl from your belt and these zip ties kind of help keep everything in place so it doesn't slowly come apart. And then this thing just kind of tends to swing wherever and can whack you in the knee, and it's annoying. And here's a good look at the back of this coat. Like I said, this coat's pretty decent too. It's built to last, I will say that, even though that despite that one stitch coming out. But I would say that I'm pretty happy with how far the costumes come, the pieces that are available for it. And if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. I might do another piece to this video where I have it on so you can see how it looks and see all the parts, maybe with the different jackets. Maybe I'll do that. And I guess that about wraps it up. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything, or you just want to talk about the costume or where you might find better options for certain things, feel free to post those below for other people that read the comments and might want to check them out. But I hope you guys have a great weekend. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you for the next video.